Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody, to our April 27th TEA LEA webinar. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Leo Colecchio, and I'll be your host. As a reminder, the chat feature is disabled. However, you can put questions in the Q&A section. Please include your email address with any Q&A entries. And but there'll be no live Q&A today. Presenters will review your submissions. Today's agenda includes the following topics. We're going to hear about State Performance Plan Indicators 14 and SPPI 17 and 13. But our first topic today is the State Performance Plan Indicator 14. And here to talk about that is Elizabeth Danner, our State Transition Coordinator in Special Education Programs Division. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thanks, Leo. And I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Looks good.
Okay, great. And then, okay, so we're going to talk for a few minutes about State Performance Plan Indicator 14, known as SPPI 14. And I'll share an overview of what SPPI 14 measures, where to find the data, and highlight the results of the most recent report. Okay, so this indicator measures post-school outcomes using a survey to contact students who had an IEP in effect at the time of exit from public school. And local education agencies, LEAs, submit contact and demographic data for students who exit through certain lever codes. 1 year after the students exit, Gibson Consulting conducts a survey to ask students or their families what type of education or employment they are engaged in. So starting from the far left of your screen, you can see that the timeline for the current data begins with school year 2020-2021. Any student receiving special education services who was enrolled in grades 9 through 12 that year and graduated, earned a GED, or dropped out is included in the LEA data submission through TSDS PEAMS and then through TEAL. 1 year after they left public school, Gibson Consulting reached out to the students via email, text, phone, and even sending a postcard. And we're going to take a look at some highlights from the survey results in a moment, but first I want to let you know about the report. Once the survey closed, Gibson began organizing and analyzing the data to draft the report, which they submitted. Typically, this report is published sometime in winter, and this year it is anticipated to be published during May. So it was submitted on the typical timeline, and it will be published sometime during May. For those who use this data in your work, you can expect a report format that looks similar to last year's report. And the report with statewide data will be posted online and available publicly. So for your district or charter school report, this data is considered confidential. Therefore, the LEA reports are shared through the Education Service Centers directly with the special education directors and transition designees, or TEDs. If you are in one of these roles, it's a good idea to check that your name and contact information is listed accurately in Ask TED, because this is often used to find the correct person to share this confidential information. And another thing to note is last year, many LEAs received a masked report with no local data and had to rely on regional and state data to consider the outcomes for their students. This year, the threshold has dropped to a minimum of 5 completed surveys to receive an unmasked report, and the options to meet this threshold have expanded to allow combining results across years or with other LEAs in a shared service arrangement. So what this means is that if you are the special education director or the TED for your LEA, you are more likely to receive an unmasked report with results specific to your district or charter school. And speaking of results, this slide shows a few key pieces of data to highlight the statewide results from the 2022 survey. In the box to the right of your screen, you can see that almost 35,000 students were sent emails, phone calls, text messages, and postcards about the survey. And of those students, 8,300 completed the survey for a 23.9% response rate. And the pie chart to the left of your screen shows the data for those 8,300 exited students who responded to the survey. And we can see that 27% were enrolled in higher education and 31% were competitively employed. 8% were engaged in other employment and 3% were engaged in other education or training. And it's good to know that the statewide report includes a definition for each of those categories. So you can look for that when it's published. Also notice the data showing that 31% of the 8,300 exited students who responded to the survey were not engaged in any of these activities, and I'll just let that data speak for itself. The LEA reports will show the same data, these same data points for a local comparison to the statewide data. So with that in mind, some of the next steps to consider are to watch for the statewide report to be published to the Texas Transition website. You can see the URL on your screen, www.texastransition.org. And if you are a special education director or a TED, watch for an email from your regional SCTN contact for your LEA report. The SCTN contact can also help you understand how to use the SPPI 14 report in your work. And there are also 3 videos posted to the SPPI 14 page on the Texas Transition website that support administrator understanding of the SPPI 14 data. And so with that, I will turn it back to Leah.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And you may stop sharing screen when you get a moment. Thank you again for the presentation. And at this time, we have our second presentation, State Performance Plan Indicators 17 and 13 application updates. And today we have Susan Bynum, the State Performance Plan and Reporting Manager, and Donna Holmes, our State Performance Plan and Website Coordinator. Welcome to our webinar.
Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here to see everyone and talk to everyone today. Donna is, most of you probably know Donna. If you've ever had to ask an SPP question and send an email through the SPP email box, it was probably Donna that answered your question. So that being said, we're going to go over the State Performance Plan Indicators 7 and 13 data collection. 7, I believe, is already open. So Donna will be walking you through that today. If at the end you have any questions, she'll give you some contact information where you can email us or follow up with any other questions. That being said, go right ahead, Donna.
Thanks, Susan. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to do a quick sound check. Susan, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me well? Great. Okay, go ahead to the next screen. Today, we're going to, first of all, do an overview of indicators 7 and 13. Then we'll talk about the 22-23 application timeline. We'll discuss the campuses that are included in the applications. Then some updates to the applications. We have some guidance documents to talk about, a few reminders for everyone, and then we'll have let you know where you can find some additional information and technical support. Okay, Susan. Indicator 7 is preschool outcomes, and it measures the percent of children aged 3 through 5 with IEPs who demonstrate improvement in 3 different areas: positive social emotional skills, acquisition and use of knowledge and skills, and the use of appropriate behaviors. Indicator 13 is secondary transition, and it measures the percent of youth aged 16 and above with IEPs that have documentation of transition requirements in their IEP. Also, there must be evidence that the student was invited to the ARD meeting where transition services were discussed, and then, if appropriate, a representative of any agency that's likely to be responsible for providing or paying for any transition services that they were invited to the ARD meeting with prior consent. These two indicators are part of the 7 indicators that are reported in the annual State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report. Also, these indicators are included in the reports for an LEA's performance against the state targets for indicators 1 through 14. These reports are posted online and can be found on the local education agency public reporting website. In addition, indicator 13 is one of the 5 indicators that's used to calculate an LEA's determination level in the results-driven accountability framework. So these indicators are used for multiple reasons and are used for different sources. Okay, next. Indicator 7 and 13 are both collected from LEAs in the Texas Education Agency login or TIL application. The 22-23 application for both opened on April the 3rd, and they will close on August the 11th. Okay, Susan? Where do the campuses come from that are included? Well, they come from the Ask TED database, and the LEAs themselves provide the information for the Ask TED database. For indicator 7, the application will only list campuses with grades that have students ages 3 through 5. Indicator 13 will only list campuses with grades 9, 10, 11, and or 12. The district certifier will see all the campuses listed in the application's drop-down menus. However, the district data entry agents will only see campuses for which they've requested. So if a campus is included in the application and the user doesn't see that campus in the drop-down menu, they need to modify their TIL account and request access to that campus. And as a reminder, TIL requires the use of Firefox browser when you're modifying your account. If a campus is included in the application, but no students on the campus meet the data collection criteria, the LEA must still report this, and they do that by submitting no students meet the data collection criteria for this campus, and they still have to certify the applications. The LEAs are required to report data for all campuses included in the application. Okay, Susan, next. Both indicator 7 and 13 applications have had several updates for the 22-23 data collection. There are minor content updates, some formatting updates, and then there's an update to SPPI 7, which adds the ability to transfer an entry record between the different LEAs. Okay, Susan? Both applications have minor wording updates. Several examples include the Division of Federal and State Education Policy, which is the name of a former division that's not used anymore. That's been updated to Texas Education Agency. Early Childhood Outcomes has been updated to Preschool Outcomes, and that's due to a name change from OSEP in the new measurement table. The link that used to say, click here if you have no student data to submit, now reads, click here if no students meet the data collection criteria for this campus, and that's to better describe the action. The recommendation to use Internet Explorer has been removed, and although the IT department doesn't recommend any specific browser, our team generally uses Google Chrome or Firefox when using the application. I do want to note that Firefox must be used if you try to print the student roster from the campus administration screen. Okay, Susan. The formatting has been updated in the application so that the sections are defined by borders, and that's to improve just the visual organization. In the menu bar, the instructions and FAQ tab has been renamed Resources, and that now links to the indicator's webpage where you can find the information about the indicator and also the resources. Okay, next. The most significant update is to Indicator 7. It's been updated to allow the entry records to be transferred between LEAs for early childhood special education students who withdraw from one LEA and enroll in another. The Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP, requires the Childhood Outcome Summary or cost process to be completed twice at a minimum. Once at program entry and again at program exit with at least 6 months between. However, the process can be completed more often. With this update, progress can be measured from the initial ECSE entry for students who transfer between the LEAs. Our goal is to improve data quality and outcome calculations in addition to providing informative and actionable reports. Okay, Susan. The information that I'm going to go over on this page is going to be included in our SPP 7 application instructions document that's already posted on the webpage. So I didn't want someone to try to hurry up and write down what I'm saying when you can get the steps already posted online. Beginning with the 22-23 collection, to complete a transfer record, the LEA must enter an exit reason of child has left the district in the Indicator 7 application for a child who's withdrawn from the LEA. If the student hasn't been in ECSE for at least 6 months, but they haven't been dismissed by the ARD committee or they haven't aged out, the application is going to require the LEA to enter the exit reason in program less than 6 months. And that's okay, that's appropriate. So that either child has left the district or, if appropriate, in program less than 6 months. And it's important that the LEA enters that exit reason because the student's entry record will not populate in the new LEA without one of those exit reasons. After the student enrolls in the new LEA, the LEA should verify that the student's Texas Student Data System, or TSDS, master record lists the correct LEA and campus. And just a reminder, if the SPP application generates a PIMS error message when performing a UID search for any student, the LEA should check that student's TSDS master record. And that is a little different than an enrollment record. Every ESC has a TSDS technical champion that can help the LEAs with any questions that has to do with PIMS or the TSDS master record. So once the LEA enters the student's UID in the application, that original entry record will populate in the new LEA if the appropriate exit reasons have been entered. And once again, step-by-step instructions for doing a transfer between districts. It's included in the SPP 7 application instructions that's posted on the Preschool Outcomes webpage. This is a new procedure. So we have verified with the IT team that maintains and updates the SPP application that if the previous LEA has not entered the required exit reasons that enables that transfer record, the new LEA will still have the ability to enter an exit. They'll be able to enter the entry record for the student using the Childhood Outcomes Summary Form, or COSF, that they have generated within 30 days of the student entering. During this first year of implementing this update, we wanted to ensure that LEAs could certify and submit their SPP application on time and not be delayed due to a missing exit reason from a previous district. So LEAs should continue to complete the COSF within 30 days after a transfer student begins ECSE in your LEA. When you do the ID search for a student that's transferred into the district, when you put them in the application, if that student's entry record does transfer, go ahead and save that, and then note on that student's COSF that you've done for your district that the previous entry record transferred in the system, and keep that COSF. We're continuing to work with our IT team to make additional improvements to the application and improve the system to make it as user-friendly as possible. Okay, Susan, next slide. As I mentioned before, the SPP7 application instructions document has been updated, and also we have created a step-by-step instructions document for SPP13. Both of these are already posted on their respective web pages. In addition, the data collection guidance document for SPP13 has been updated, and it should be posted on its website within the next week. Okay, next screen. We're recommending that the LEAs verify some things. First of all, please remember to verify that someone in the LEA has the certifier role for both the SPP7 and SPP13 applications. At the end of the year and during the summer, there can be personnel changes in an LEA that can impact the ability to assign a new certifier. And this includes if you have a change in superintendents, since they have to approve a user's certifier role prior to TEA being able to approve the process. Also, if a campus is included in the SPP application, remember the LEA must certify and submit the SPP application even if they don't have any students who meet the data collection criteria. And then, of course, SPP7 and 13 applications must be certified submitted prior to the close of the application on August the 11th. And that will be at 11:59 that night. Next slide, Susan. Of course, you can always find information about our SPP indicators and any resources on the SPP indicator web pages. We have our regional education service centers who are available to provide assistance with the SPP applications. And of course, questions can be submitted to the SPP mailbox at spp@tea.texas.gov. Thank you, Leo.
Thank you very much, Donna. And thank you to Elizabeth and Susan. And I want to thank the Derek for joining us today, and our audience for being here today and attending the webinar. As a reminder, the recording of the webinar will be posted in the next few business days on our webpage for TEA LEA webinars. And our next webinar is currently scheduled for May 11th. And so we'll hope to see you back then. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.